The US has reportedly turned 2 sanctioned tankers seized after the Venezuela raid into scrap. Trump's Venezuela tanker seizures have ended with the vessels heading to Indian scrapyards. Seized at sea, the sanctioned tankers were later sold off for demolition in a stunning twist. The US tanker seizures took an unexpected turn as a Dubai-based firm reportedly bought the vessels for scrap. The US sold 2 sanctioned oil tankers for scrap after seizing them near Venezuela, according to Reuters. Lloyd's List reported that the tankers were sold following US military action in Venezuela and subsequent seizures of sanctioned vessels. The 2 vessels were the Era, previously known as Marinera and Bella 1, and the Lilio, which had also operated under several names. The Lilio had previously sailed under the names Galileo and Veronica, according to Reuters, before being seized and later sold for scrap. Dubai-based vessel recycler Global Marketing Systems reportedly bought the 2 tankers last month as part of the disposal process. The company purchased the vessels for an undisclosed sum, according to Lloyd's List, with the final sale value not made public. The tankers were set to be demolished at scrapyards in India after the sale, ending their service as commercial oil vessels. The US had seized as many as 10 oil tankers following its military action in Venezuela, according to reports on the wider enforcement operation. The US also continues to enforce a naval blockade on ships entering or leaving Iranian ports, adding to pressure on Tehran's oil trade. The US is reportedly prepared to lift its blockade on Iranian ports if a Hormuz agreement restores unhindered commercial shipping, though Washington says the move depends on Tehran fulfilling its commitments. A US official told Reuters that the blockade would end once a deal formally guarantees free commercial passage through the Strait of Hormuz. This comes after President Trump said he called off planned strikes on Iran in favor of pursuing a diplomatic settlement, signaling a shift from immediate military escalation to conditional negotiations. The emerging arrangement aims to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and could also address Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief and frozen Iranian assets. But Tehran says a route agreement alone will not reopen the waterway. Sanctions pressure on Iran could ease as part of a broader shipping agreement, although Washington has simultaneously imposed fresh sanctions and Iran is demanding an end to sanctions, military threats and the blockade. Iran and Oman have reached an understanding on the geographic coordinates of a new Hormuz shipping route, with a joint announcement still being finalized. If completed, the deal could become the biggest US-Iran de-escalation in months, but major gaps remain over US concessions, Iranian conditions, and whether all commercial vessels would be allowed through. With the Strait of Hormuz remaining at the heart of the escalating Iran-US standoff, Tehran has announced a stunning change at the highest level of its security leadership. Mohsen Rizoi has replaced Mohammad Bagher Zolgoda, taking over as Iran's top security official at a moment of intense regional tension and uncertainty. Rizoi is a veteran commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and a trusted advisor to Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei. In addition to his new position, Rizoi will serve as Khamenei's representative on Iran's powerful Supreme National Security Council. Zolgoda assumed the position after former Secretary Ali Larijani was killed in an Israeli strike, creating a sudden vacancy at the top of Iran's security apparatus. However, Zolgoda's tenure lasted only a matter of months after he replaced Ali Larijani earlier this year amid growing pressure on Tehran's leadership. Both Rizoi and Zolgoda are regarded as hardliners within Iran's leadership, known for supporting a tougher approach toward the country's regional and foreign adversaries. However, analysts argue that Zolgoda never possessed the same authority or influence as Iran's most senior military commanders. His influence was considered weaker than that of several current and former commanders who have built powerful networks within Iran's military and political establishment. This leadership change comes as Iran holds crucial talks over possible agreement to reopen, or at least manage commercial traffic through, the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. Any agreement to restore shipping through the strait would require approval from Iran's Supreme National Security Council and, ultimately, Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei. Zolgoda reportedly demanded the withdrawal of US troops from the region, compensation for wartime damage, and sanctions relief before Iran would agree to reopen the waterway. Iran and Oman are reportedly nearing an agreement to manage commercial traffic through the Gulf choke point, although the emerging plan may involve only a controlled and temporary shipping corridor rather than a full reopening. Last week, Rajoy claimed that Iran had already displaced much of the US military presence in Kuwait, Qatar, and Jordan, presenting the assertion as evidence of Tehran's growing regional influence. Rajoy also warned that Iran would not permit the creation of a second maritime corridor through the Strait of Hormuz, insisting that Tehran must retain control over the waterway. He further warned that any US military deployment inside the strategic waterway would be treated as a direct threat and could come under attack from Iranian forces.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a banking dynasty meets tides of world history, intrigue, and a dash of myth?
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Have you ever wondered what happens when a banking dynasty meets tides of world history, intrigue, and a dash of myth?
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.